I am Heather Penzak, the Director of Innovation with Education Systems Center at Northern Illinois University, or Ed Systems, as we're often called. And so the session that we have here today for you all is Essential Skills and Career Exploration, Empowering Students for the Future. Really excited to have two different communities sharing their resources and really looking all across the K-12 continuum, thinking about supporting students in essential skills and in career exploration. And so the goals for today really are sharing those resources and best practices to support the design and implementation of essential skill activities and career exploration. We hear often from the field how crucial these essential skills are. You all know this within your schools, with your industry, your community partners, really helping students develop those skills and be thinking about them from an early age and all throughout, even as adults. I'm sure there's essential skills we could reflect on and think that we might want to work on a bit. And also career exploration, how we're supporting students to really engage in different activities, engage directly with industry mentors, and really understand all the different occupations that there are in the world. I share this example often, but I think about the field of HR, human resources. Like, I had no idea what that was when I was in high school. And it's a huge field that a lot of students might be interested in, but you go and tour a hospital, you tour a manufacturing center. Like, there are so many different occupations within there. And so career exploration really helps provide that awareness, that opportunity, that direct engagement with industry mentors about what those different occupations are and what they look like. And they can ask questions and all of that. So excited for them to share some of their models and resources today, but also just want to help offer really practical resources about preparing students for success in work-based learning experiences. So another thing that we hear often, and I'm sure a lot of you experience, is, the essential skills are really what's needed for that success. When students get to work-based learning, it's often that an employer, a job site, right, they're going to really help continue to train them on those technical skills and work with them through that and what that looks like within their place. But those essential skills and really coming with a good foundation for those to continue to grow and develop really helps that student up for success and creates a really good relationship with those partners, both between the student and their mentor, but also the school and the partners that you're trying to recruit. So essential skills are just a really wonderful foundation to be supporting students to develop and keep reflecting on. Is a really big component of that too. And so we're just going to do, this is your quick welcome here right now. And if I ever mute you at all, it's really just that background noise thing. You are always welcome to unmute and ask questions, but we're really going to have two different presentations today. So we have a group here from the Center for the Future of Arizona. They have a new K-5 career exploration curriculum that they're going to share about, but they're also going to talk you through some of the other work that they do and how they support career exploration and essential skill development, even beyond that K-5 audience. And we're also going to share, I think there's some people here on the line who are familiar with GPEAK. This was a system that was developed out of the Peoria region back in 2019, but has really become statewide use. And so we have communities in Rockford who are using this system, in Chicago and others. And so we'll share more about that. And then we have, we're going to share too about a new training site. So, we used to have this big Google folder full of all these different GPEAK resources. That's fabulous, but a lot to navigate. And so a training site has been developed that really is there for educators, any instructors wanting to engage in the essential skills. And it really takes you through all of the resources in kind of an asynchronous format so you can learn about them and think about how to incorporate them. And so we'll share more about that. And then we'll close a bit with next steps and some upcoming events. And you are, again, if this is your first time attending an iWin session, we are the Illinois Work-Based Learning Innovation Network, and we're really here to do all these key things. Highlight and explore innovative models for work-based learning. Build connections among communities. We're always excited to bring in partners from outside of Illinois to learn about what's happening beyond our state. And engage too in conversations thinking about equity and high quality and meaningful access and building that social capital when we're thinking about in our communities who are our historically marginalized populations, who are those students that this social capital, this experience can really change the trajectory of and change their thinking about what it is that they want to do. And again, we're always thinking about policy supports and all those pieces and the whole big wide landscape of work-based learning and what it is that we might need to be thinking about more systemically or broadly, in addition to sharing these community best practices, learnings, and resources. And with that, I'm going to turn here to our Arizona team, and I am your click-througher, so just let me know as you want me to move forward.
Hey, thank you, Heather. My name is Erin McGeehan. I'm with the Center for the Future of Arizona, and with me is Cindy Irwin and Maya Watts. They'll be talking later on in the slideshow, and then go ahead and advance. So the Center for the Future of Arizona, we're a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. And our mission is to bring together Arizonans to build a stronger and brighter future for our state. So we always like to start off with what our mission is. And then we'll go to the next slide. And I am part of the Arizona Pathways to Prosperity team. And we're actually part of the JFF National Network Pathways to Prosperity. And so we do our work locally in the state of Arizona. And what the Pathways to Prosperity Network is it's a system of college and career pathways that span grades K through 14. And it's really helping students transition from K-8 to high school to college and career, and making sure that students and their families are informed about the high wage, high demand, high skilled careers that are available to them. And we really focus on areas or sectors in Arizona with those high wage H3 sectors. So information technology, energy, healthcare, and advanced manufacturing. And within the pathways work, we work within 3 key elements: career exploration, which we're going to do a deeper dive in here shortly, and then also our early college programs of study, so dual enrollment, early college pathways, and then also work-based learning. So we've done some virtual internships and hybrid career shadows, and with the gold standard of apprenticeship and youth apprenticeship, really looking towards developing those further. And then next slide.
Erin, I think I take over from here. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Cindy Irwin, Director of College and Career Pathways with the Center for the Future of Arizona. We've been leading the Pathways to Prosperity work that Erin talked about for 10 years. And you all know this work. You're very familiar with the work. And really, I often think about career exploration as just such a critical part of Pathways, because we can have great programs of study and alignment with our post-secondary and high schools and down. We can have great industry connections, but if students don't have an idea of what their opportunities are, all those things don't really matter in a sense. So a few years ago, really early in our Pathways work, our school partners were really saying, yes, we're with you. We know career exploration is important. However, we just don't have a lot of resources around career exploration. So we kind of really, I would say, doubled down in this area a few years ago. And we're going to talk about some of that work here. Heather, you can move to the next slide. So this is our why for career exploration. And again, something that this audience, I think, well understands. I won't read slides to you. I know you can do that. But we know that our students really don't understand the wide variety of opportunities that they have. Heather talked about some of that just in terms of like, what is human resources? For our students, what is cybersecurity? How do you really understand those opportunities? We also know that our families that we work with often don't understand those opportunities. They haven't been exposed to that, don't necessarily understand the current labor market. Again, just because they're not necessarily exposed to that, teachers often don't have that understanding either. And I also, I always think too of our middle grades teachers, where we do a lot of career exploration. they didn't go to school to become career exploration teachers, right? There's no sort of degree in that. So to have resources for them, I think we have seen that to be really, really important, well embraced by our schools. So we probably have 40, 50 and growing schools that are using this curriculum across the state of Arizona. Heather, you can move to the next slide. Again, these are just some of the things that we support schools in career exploration areas outside of specific curriculum as well, just always trying to bring resources and really innovation to our school partners. And Heather, I'll have you move to the next slide. A little bit about possible futures. So we're going to talk about this curriculum called Possible Futures. And it's really a curriculum that was originally developed by JFF through a federal grant with Long Beach Unified School District in California many, many years ago now. And we had an opportunity in 2018 through our partnership with JFF to bring that curriculum to Arizona. The original curriculum is really built primarily for grades 6 to 10. I'm going to talk about that briefly, and then Maya is going to do a deeper dive into that K-5 curriculum. But really you can see through this timeline that in Arizona, we've really invested a lot in this curriculum. We beta tested it with teachers in 2018, really well received. Through COVID, we had a very significant grant to digitize the curriculum and condense it, put it in what made real sense for teachers in terms of their lesson plans and sort of the way they work through classrooms. So a lot of work has been invested in this, and the curriculum has been Arizonaized to a little extent, connects to our labor market data, but at the same time, it really is broadly applicable. It's open source curriculum. JFF still shares this curriculum with other states. So if you have an interest after this session, happy to meet with anybody to talk further, and also happy to connect you with the JFF resources who support the curriculum as well. Heather, you can move to the next slide. These again are just our student outcomes, really what we're looking for students to experience and know with regard to robust career exploration implementation within their schools. Grounded in research. So you'll see the source there, and I'm sure that may be a source that many of you might be familiar with as well. And the next slide. So just in general, this original Possible Futures curriculum that was built for grades 6 to 10 has 3 primary units, so to speak. A Skills for Success unit, or 12 lessons, which are not necessarily one-day lessons, but really 12 comprehensive lessons that are focused a lot on what we think about as employability skills. So a lot around collaboration, communication, those types of things, very much hands-on, intended to be facilitated by a teacher in a classroom, project-based. And then I'm flipping all the way to the right of that slide, a component called Lenses on the Future, which is really built on students understanding themselves, security, their sort of place in the world, how they want their future to look, and then society, learning about their community. And that's the place where students are really learning about themselves and connecting their themselves as young adults and their education world to that world of work. And then this curriculum does focus in STEM areas. Erin talked about those H3 careers that we focus on. So the curriculum does explore a number of careers in healthcare, in cybersecurity, in information technology, and then in engineering. Very hands-on, project-based, super fun for teachers, and very accessible for educators to implement, even if they have no experience in any of those STEM areas. And Heather, you can move to the next slide. I'll just mention briefly that in our state, we do have a state mandate for every high school student to have an education and career action plan. Our middle schools do not need to have an education and career action plan for their students. However, that is a best practice, and I think Arizona is really moving in that direction. So we've, in Arizona, aligned this curriculum to our standards for K-8 career literacy, and really to what we see coming as that 8th grade ECAP, where students really have experienced pretty robust career exploration and have documented that and have connected that to their high school transition. And then the next slide, again, just really briefly, also to mention in Arizona, we do have a technology platform that is supported by our state called My Future AZ that all of our students and schools have access to at no cost. So this curriculum has also been aligned to that kind of student journey through this technology platform. So I think, again, it's just a testament to the investment that we and our partners in the state have really made in career exploration and kind of working to put all of these pieces together rather than just offering a curriculum and saying, here you are, good luck to you. We've really tried to weave this together in the Pathways work overall and with a lot of additional resources and support. We do provide training for teachers and implementation support at no cost. Okay, with that, I am turning it over to Maya to talk about the newest installment, again, based on feedback from the field to say, like, we really need K-5 curriculum. So we've been fortunate to have an investment from our Department of Education through ESSER dollars to be able to build out K-5 curriculum. Maya, I'll pass to you with that.
Thanks, Cindy. Hi, everybody. I'm Maya Watts. I'm the project manager on the Pathways team that's really been overseeing the possible futures projects and the development of this new K-5 curriculum. So excited to share it with you. We've been working on it for the last couple of years, and we're truly in like the last days of the publication of this. So very happy to share. Next slide, please. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of how this curriculum came to be, like Cindy said, many of our school partners were using middle school possible futures, and we're thinking, hey, how do we reach into the elementary grades? You know, we really want to bring these concepts down and help our schools and our communities start thinking about these ideas sooner. And we had the opportunity through a grant through our department to start this project. So we started off with an advisory panel. We partnered with the Department of Ed, educators, school leaders, and experts in career exploration to develop the kind of the specifications of what we wanted this curriculum to look like, what standards we really wanted to focus on, and what elements we wanted to like scaffold up to with the middle school curriculum. So if you remember back on that slide that Cindy shared with the 3 buckets of middle school curriculum, lenses on the future, the one where students are thinking about themselves and how that connects to careers. That was really the unit that was identified as the one that our partners thought was most important to scaffold down to the younger students. So that's what we expanded. We have lenses on the future, K-5 for our elementary school students. We partnered with curriculum writers to write this curriculum, and then we piloted the curriculum sort of like in its beta form with teachers in this last school year, the 23-24 school year. And throughout that process, we collected a lot of feedback. And, you know, through surveys and focus groups and conversations with our educators, and are just now finishing up applying some of the feedback that they gave us. You know, it was really important to us to make sure that this curriculum was something that educators would use and be able to use effectively and efficiently within the classroom. K-5 educators have so much on their plates, and we don't want to hand too much more to them. So we're really excited with how it's kind of morphed into something a little bit different, but really following the lead of our educators. Next slide, please. So like I mentioned, this elementary curriculum is an expansion of lenses on the future, and students are using the lenses of self, security, and society to think about their future. Through the lens of self, they're thinking about their interests and their strengths, exploring this idea of identity and what they care about. They are also thinking about their society. Using the lens of society is thinking about their community needs, and how they fit within their community and different careers that contribute to a healthy, functioning community. And then there's also a huge component of financial literacy. The security lens is really thinking about financial security and how you kind of think about your future and the financial implications of careers and what pathways you take. So at an early age, students do learn about how money works, but oftentimes there are not a lot of standards in math. I don't know what it's like in Illinois, but in Arizona, we don't have a lot of places in our math standards where students are learning about money. So we are really excited to be able to integrate some financial literacy activities into this curriculum to help students start to understand those basic economics. Next slide, please. So the curriculum is broken into 2 grade bands. You're probably thinking, gosh, kindergartners and 5th graders, those are dramatically different human beings. Totally agree. So we really tried to make sure that this curriculum was age appropriate. And we did 5 lessons for each grade band. So kindergarten through 2nd grade is for our littles. And in this, there's a set of 5 lessons that students go through. And I use air quotes with lessons because, you might hear the word lesson and think, oh, okay, it's 1 day of learning or 1 hour of learning or 1 activity. But one of the big pieces of feedback that we got from educators was that kindergartners don't do hour-long lessons. That just doesn't happen. So we modified these lesson plans to be like a collection of learning activities that educators can help their students engage with throughout a course of many days or many weeks. So you see, lesson 1, self, all about me. There's multiple activities that students do in there to explore this idea of who they are and talking about their feelings and their wants and needs. So it's not just 1 lesson in there. But you can see our guiding questions down the center of this table to kind of give you an idea of what students are working on in these lessons. I'll just point out one other one that I think is really cool. Actually, I'm going to point out 2, sorry. Lesson 3, security, back to the drawing board. Students are learning about problem solving and getting critique and feedback from others to help them solve their problems. Something that's really challenging for a lot of people, not just littles. And I just think it's such an incredible opportunity for students to practice giving feedback and receiving feedback on a problem. And then the other one I wanted to point out is lesson 4, society, community connections, and you. One of our curriculum authors created an amazing picture book that goes with this curriculum. So students, you can see an image in the top right-hand corner. That's from our picture book. It's about Yip and the Yupples, and he goes and experiences what these different professionals in his community are and how they support his school, his smaller community, in being a safe and thriving community. Next slide, please. Oh, and here's another screen grab from that picture book that we just love. It's so great. One of the great things about all of these materials is that they're going to be pretty easy to print out and create. We've got this in a PDF format so that you can produce it as many times as you need for your students. Next slide, please. So there's 5 more lessons for students in grades 3-5. And a lot of the concepts that you saw in the K2 lessons are scaffolded up into grades 3-5. So it starts out with this idea of what is your North Star, thinking about your values and how those guide you, and then connect students to the careers that are, or different careers and how they relate to values, because there are careers that are, supported by certain values, and that can help students think about having a fulfilling career in their future and thinking about following that passion and what matters to them. And some other themes that you'll see in here are needs versus wants. Students start to think about money, the basic needs of survival. They envision themselves as a future high schooler with their after-school job and how they might spend their money from that after-school job. Are they going to save it? Are they going to spend it on a really cool item, or maybe go to the movies, that kind of thing? Students also do another financial literacy lesson in here where they think about lifestyles and how that affects our spending. And they plan a dream vacation and try and budget for that dream vacation. Another lesson that I really want to point out that I think is really cool here is students are starting to think about their communities and the problems that their communities are facing. As you may be aware, in the Southwest, we have a water crisis. That's a pretty big issue for us. And our young people need to know about it because we need their help. And in lesson 4, students are introduced to that problem and learn about different careers associated with helping solve that problem. Next slide, please. Oh, this is a screen grab from one of the lesson plans. My friend at the Department of Education just keeps mentioning that she thinks it's so fabulous that we have all of this information. They're really high quality structured lesson plans. So she always tells me to share it with everybody. But I just want you to see here that, we've got our learning targets and standard alignments. And this text might be small on your screen, but we have even aligned to English and math standards as well. So our elementary school students or teachers can make those connections. Next slide, please. Oh, and here's a screen grab from one of the student resources. For the grades 3-5 lessons, students can respond to some of the questions and interact with some of this learning through the student, it's kind of like a packet or a notebook for each lesson, because like I mentioned with the K2 lessons, these 3-5 lessons are really a collection of learning activities versus like one lesson that's delivered in an hour. So they're really beautiful and easy to follow student resources here. Next slide, please. And then just a few more things to mention in case I didn't already. This elementary school curriculum is a direct extension of the middle school Lenses on the Future unit. So we're really excited for our K-8 partners out there. There are many K-8 schools in Arizona to now have an approach to career exploration that spans all grade levels. Those 3-5 lessons that I was talking about have both a digital format, like our middle school curriculum, but also a traditional format where it's like a paper lesson plan for the educator to walk the students through the activities. Those K2 lessons are what you would consider a more traditional lesson plan. They don't have a digital component. Our advisory panel told us pretty clearly they didn't want to put kindergartners, first graders, second graders on computers any more than they had to. So don't even try. The instructional materials for every single lesson have already been developed. So we have student worksheets, slide decks, differentiation strategies are included, including extension recommendations and school to home connection recommendations. So many different ideas in there to help educators really expand upon this learning. When I look at these lesson plans, I think that, an educator who's passionate about career exploration, it's got some excitement and innovation in how they approach their classroom, can do amazing things with just these small lesson plans to really inspire them. I mentioned that alignment. So those standards, we have career literacy standards for K-5 in Arizona. So we align to those and the math and ELA. We also tried to focus on careers in Arizona that were high wage and high growth careers when we were trying to figure out what students would be exploring within the lessons. And then Cindy talked about My Future AZ, which is our Department of Education career exploration platform. And our 5th grade students are connected to My Future AZ through these lessons also. So right as they transition into middle school, they're starting to get exposed to that platform that they're going to be using to explore careers and document their education and career action plans. And then the last thing I'll mention here is a wonderful collaboration with EdgeFactor. EdgeFactor creates career exploration media. It's wonderful. Their videos, highly engaging, high production value. And they do just a fabulous job of making it age appropriate, but it's one of those resources you have to license. So we were super happy to be able to partner with them to create a free playlist that aligns with our curriculum. So our users can log in with a free account and get into this elementary playlist with EdgeFactor.
All right. Well, thank you all again. Excited for this. And Will, I know you're in the final pieces here, but when that's ready to share, and we'll make sure to get the link out to everybody so you can access and start thinking about those K-5 resources in your own setting. Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Very thankful for that. I know K-5 is a whole, this idea too of all these different transition points, right? The 5th graders, we're going to start to use that My Future Arizona. And I know a lot of Illinois communities too are thinking about 6th through 8th grade. How do you help them start to make their high school decisions, right? They're not showing up in 9th grade. Kind of just all right, I don't know what's out there. What do I want to do? So this all just builds on the other, and really appreciate you all sharing today. Fabulous. Well, let me get my screen up here again. And I'm going to actually share a bit about the GPEAK system. But before I do that, Jess, if you want to introduce yourself, and then I'll share a bit.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. I am Jasmine. I work with NIU as well. I work in the P20 Outreach Department, focused on STEAM education. And I have a curricular designer and developer and work with professional development. And I was a teacher for a lot of years.
Wonderful. And I'm just going to do a quick bit of background here. I've been working, with GPEAK since 2019, which is kind of wild to think about. And actually also did some partnering with JFS as we were first defining some of those key performance indicators for this system. But what GPEAK is, again, was really born out of the Peoria area, the Greater Peoria Essential Abilities and Knowledge System. But we're now really rebranding it as just GPEAK. It's kind of like how, Kleenex is technically like facial tissue, but everybody calls it Kleenex. Like we're becoming that. I don't know if that's the right metaphor, but it's what I'm going with. But it really was developed to provide a regional approach for assessing and validating essential skills needed in the workplace. There's a lot of, even in my former experience with a high school internship program, you have 150 students going out to 90 different sites, having 150 different mentors. And there is difference in assessment, right? Like people have, based on their understanding of what the essential skills are and what it looks like to demonstrate those, it does vary, right? And so the system, the language, the resources that were developed here was to really provide that regional approach. So no matter where an individual went, either for a work-based learning opportunity or a career readiness coursework, it was all going to be the same language, the same kind of expectations for assessment, to really build those essential skills. And so the system within GPEAK, it measures individuals' demonstration of those essential skills, and these are all aligned to our 10 here in Illinois, which I'll share again in a bit, but all that's needed for meaningful employment or success in postsecondary. But a lot of what GPEAK is about, and you'll see this as you kind of dig into the resources, a lot of it is about that reflection. So I really love where, that K-5 curriculum, a lot of it is about reflection, like what is meaningful to me? Like, how do I view myself in the world, right? And so as you're engaging in these essential skills, it's so important to say, like, how is that showing up? How did that not show up? Where do I need to improve? Where do I need some support? And so a lot of this is really about that reflective opportunity, both, between the individual and who their industry mentor or who their instructor might be. And so that it really is, as we've heard from communities, was the really beneficial part of all of these resources, is how much it kind of encourages and expects that reflection. Some core components of the system are these performance indicators. Again, they are aligned to our 10 Illinois essential employability competencies. Many of you are likely familiar with that document there on the right. But what they did is, really broke down each of those 10 competencies into 5 performance indicators. So 5 really key actions or behaviors per competency. Something similar you saw too on that K-5 curriculum where it says, I can be able to do these things. It just really, really broke that down. So it takes out some of the guesswork and wiggle room that there may be within that broader competency meant to address whether it's coursework or work-based learning and just make it really explicit. But what Jess is really going to walk you through too are those curricular resources. So these are all aligned to those competencies and performance indicators. There's journal activities, case studies, mentor moments. Again, a lot of this for reflection and development of those skills. But there's also an assessment and badging system. So we get questions a lot about, how do you assess the essential skills? What does that look like? And so we have pre and post assessments that are available that you can do before an experience, after an experience, even in the middle of an experience. And again, have, individuals marking themselves on that assessment where they think they're at, but also their mentor, their instructor. And you can kind of compare across those assessments. And if you want to get really fancy and start thinking about badges, right, you can do that as well. So as a student might earn that demonstrating or leading on a badge for that essential skill, they could get a badge, put it on their LinkedIn profile or add it onto a portfolio, hearing about thinking through their career and their individual planning, add all that there, and they can earn all 10 and be GPEAK certified. The one note I'll have here with the badges is really thinking about what's the so what with the badges. So if you're going to award badges and do that with students, like what does that mean for them? Maybe it really is just like a celebration, and that's kind of how you how you market and engage students with it. But it also might mean certain things for that student. It might have some sort of currency or kind of so what for them that they understand. Here's just a couple of kind of screen grabs here of what the assessment looks at. So you can see, like, for teamwork and conflict resolution, on the left here, those 5 key performance indicators, those actions and behaviors, and then where they might be marked: learning, demonstrating, or leading. And there's language in the assessment about what each of those are. Learning, generally that, okay, I've become aware of this, but I don't quite know if I can actually perform this task. Demonstrating, I can do this. Leading would be, I could be a lead for others. I could be a model for others in that, right? So we want to give them a kind of one of those progression level 2 beyond just demonstrating the task, but where they can really show growth and be a model for others. And here's just, again, a screenshot here of what that journal might look like. These are all downloadable as Word documents. You can edit them and put your own logos even on there if you want to, right? Again, very much an open resource space here. Here's a picture a bit of those badges, right? And what those might look like if you wanted to use those. We have those as files too that you could access. But you can see here, again, the participant reflection about that piece of reflection, like where are you currently at? Where do you need to improve? What are you strong at? Where you push yourself? We gain a lot of feedback throughout this process from participants and mentors about how it's helped in that reflection process. And mentors have shared that it's helped with the language that they even use with individuals, right? Like they might not even know necessarily how to say how they might be struggling or where they're performing really well in teamwork and conflict resolution. And the language, the resources, and GPEAK really help even open up that line of communication between mentor and the individual. A few kind of use cases here as people have been exploring GPEAK. I know I saw Leslie there from Peoria Regional Learning Center, and they've really been exploring and utilizing GPEAK as they think about their own skill assessments, and they have students in their work study program, and also really helping align that too with PACE. Those of you who are familiar with the PACE framework. Rockford Public Schools is a really great example of a so what with the badges, right? They really use the badges and students earning 3 of those badges to be awarded elective credits as they're doing work even outside of the school and, part-time jobs in the community, but really, again, helping. They're a big example of how that's helped language between a supervisor at like a Walgreens talking to a student who's working there about their essential skills, but the student being, validated and given that elective credit for demonstrating essential skills in a workplace, right? It's that students who have part-time jobs outside of the school day, they're doing a lot of work, right? And they're gaining a lot of essential skills. I worked at a grocery store. There was a lot of essential skills that were gained in that kind of customer service environment. And then Career Launch Chicago, for their youth apprenticeship program, they would have Friday sessions where, students would be at their apprenticeship throughout the week, Monday through Thursday. And then on Fridays in a regular cadence, they would do professional development trainings that were aligned with the GP curriculum. You can see here with the system, you can use it in all different formats. You could use all the components of the system. You could use just some parts of it, right? It's really just there as an open resource for you as you're thinking about, especially here in Illinois and the 10 essential skills language that we have to really be aligned with that. But to our Arizona folks and others who might be from outside of Illinois, we all are kind of saying the same thing with essential skills. We're all just defining it a little bit different in terms of our states, but they're all the same. And so could easily be adaptable to the language that you would have in another state outside of Illinois. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jess. Maybe I'll have you do the slide and then I can stop, or I'll click through to the next one. Then when you go to the site, I'll stop share.
That sounds good. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes, you sound great.
Okay, great. So before I jump into what the training site looks like and where all of these resources kind of are living, I wanted to go over just a quick example of what it might look like if you were to utilize one of, this is a case study specifically. It is part of the journals. It is part of the activities that you can do. And it really is a career-focused opportunity for students to read through, put themselves in a scenario, and then try to figure out how they would handle situations. What we've noticed is a lot of students are like, I would just walk away. And it's like, well, let's talk about how that could actually work or what that might look like if you were in a career or working in this role. So this one is specifically gearing towards teachers, hopefully kind of getting some people into the career pathway, educators as well, because we know paraprofessionals and educators are so valuable and a very low resource almost, it feels like. So this one was kind of geared in that direction. If you were a paraprofessional right out of high school and you work with a special education classroom, you work really closely with the teacher and the students, and you know how to handle things, you're there every day, and then the teacher's gone. And how do you kind of advocate for yourself? How do you take that initiative to say, hey, look, I don't have that like certificate that says I'm a substitute, but I can be a valuable resource. So it kind of helps students see in different work-based situations and scenarios how they might function and how they could advocate for themselves. And so it really works to try and help build these. And this is something that would be great for an educator to say, all right, here's our group, let's sit down and look. How might we do this? It sparks a lot of really good conversation with students, as well as a great way for students to reflect on their own personalities. Did you want to let me share? Okay. So the GPEAK training site, it really focuses on the tools to integrate how students think and what students think about. It was developed by educators who have a lot of years in the classroom and who understand how students can kind of be wishy-washy and try to put on a show for others, and then how to take that from the here's the performance aspect to let's actually reflect on what we need to do and what we can do to prepare ourselves for the future. I'm going to go ahead and share over the slide if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. So this is what the GPEAK training site looks like. When you're here, it takes you through a lot of what GPEAK is. Like Heather was mentioning, it is very much a self-driven, asynchronous training. It walks you through everything here. If you look along the top, these are those 3 core competencies with each proficiency attached to it. It talks to you about the different kinds of materials and opportunities we have. So we have individual journals, which are something you can either do as a group or they can be individual and self-guided. And it's an opportunity for learners to really dig into things and see how they would interact and react with different scenarios. There's teacher-led or activities or mentor moments. Both are short, really quick things you can do at the beginning of your class. Maybe you have an educator who is looking like, I really would like to help my kids get better at working together. So they can pull one of these activities. They are typically low materials and low time commitment, but high quality of return. And then there's pre and post assessments, which are both Google assessments that you can download. When you click into the pre and post assessments, it allows you to make a copy of those to help you see where students are, help students see where they are, and kind of find common ground between them and how they grow over the course of an internship or the course of a year. Let me jump back over here to materials. So when you're looking at the different activities that are inside these guided journals, there are pop culture connections. We have thought processes, things where kids have to think about different ideas and scenarios. There's reflections. And then there's these self-checks, which Heather just went over, which I think are very, very important for students. I'm going to jump into one of the topics. So working together is one of those big core competencies. There's a short video that walks you through. I won't play the video because sound quality tends to get weird over video. So there's short videos that walk you through what working together really is. And then here is that specific teamwork and conflict. These are the indicators that tell us whether a student has successfully gone through the training and understands their role with teamwork and conflict resolution. As an educator, I can click into teamwork and conflict resolution, and here are all of the activities I can do, as well as the mentor moments. Now, a lot of people are probably like, well, that's not a whole lot. So if you scroll down just a smidgy more, it shows you all of the activities as well as ways to reflect on it after the activity is done. So each of these has that reflection piece built in, which is so innate. I know that was mentioned by the folks out of Arizona as well, just that ability to reflect and take some feedback and consider different options and aspects. So each of the different competencies and all of the 10 different essential employability skills have activities, have mentor moments, have journals and self-inventory and they're just super accessible. If, for example, we have an activity that requires extra materials. So, for example, one of the activities requires dealing with gossip cards. All of that is accessible here as well. So it kind of helps to organize our thought process as we're going through what activities or mentor moments you might be interested in. Trying to think, was there anything else, Heather, that you were looking at? I think the goal of the website was just to allow an easier opportunity for educators to access our materials and kind of learn about the different things that exist within the GPEAK, which is honestly a lot. There's been a lot of time and effort put into these materials, and they're constantly updating. That's something I think that's also very important, is we're constantly finding new ones to do.
I think it's just helpful there, like even if you scroll where it has...
sorry, I can go back to it.
You're good. Just where it lists the activities and it tells you like a quick blip about what the activity is. I think that's really exciting because to Jess's point, there's a ton in here, but you can kind of look at these and say, okay, like what am I kind of looking for? Like which activity am I interested in before you're actually going in and looking at all those different resources? Because we know that as educators and instructors of essential skills, right? Like you're like, I need some sort of quick activity here to do a lesson, engage students. And so this gives you a sneak peek into those before you're kind of reading through and looking for the full activity. So I think this has been a really helpful part. Myself as a former high school biology teacher, is I just, would have liked to just grab a quick thing rather than looking through an entire packet.
Absolutely.
I know we put the link to the site in the chat. I don't know if folks are clicking through and there's any questions for Jess before we have some other pieces here.
Also, any feedback, if you start clicking through and you're like, man, I really wish it was kind of like this, definitely send feedback. We're always looking at ways to improve and make sure that the resource is usable and feasible by you. Because I think one of the most important things is we create a tool and sometimes it isn't what people need. And unless we hear about it, we can't make those changes. So we're always willing to make those changes and edits.
There are a few additional things in the works for GPEAK. So there'll be videos created for each competency that can be utilized asynchronously. So this could be something that students are doing on their own. We'll have different like pause points, or, an instructor could even use it in the classroom. But those will be developed for each of those competencies here too. We're also starting some communities of practice and technical assistance sessions on the curriculum if you are interested in utilizing GPEAK. So if you are, we're always here to thought partner and think about how you might integrate it, and just send me an email and we can get a conversation started and think about where GPEAK might be helpful in your community. I see the question about tips or best practice for employers and incorporating GPEAK practices. I guess the tip or the thing I have to say there is that, typically with employers, what we're going to see is they're not going to dig through the whole training site and look at all the curriculum and kind of think about what it is that they want to engage in. They might, right? A really active, engaged employer might be interested in that. A lot of that, I would say, could be, on the school identifying those pieces, or even I know with Career Launch Chicago, they would tell their employers what it was, what skills it was that they were engaging students in on those Fridays. So if employers knew that they were doing stuff in teamwork or in reliability and accountability, right? Problem solving, they could encourage the employer to say hey, if there's anything they could do to practice that skill this next couple of weeks or next week at their youth apprenticeship, that would be really helpful. There are mentor moments within that curriculum. And so that could be a piece that employers could go in and kind of look at, if you're having a one-on-one with an intern or a young person that you're working with, you could go through those in kind of more of a quick place there. But I also just encourage too, in terms of those assessments, right? Those can be really good opportunities to help develop language between, and I'm just going to go with intern here, between an intern and an employer, right? So if you're doing just teamwork and the intern self-assesses, their employer mentor assesses, you can kind of see where you're matching up and not matching up, and actually have a pretty constructive conversation about that. But I would also welcome, I see Chris, your hand up. I know works with employers and would appreciate what you have to say too.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So when we do our essential skills training, it's just a 6-week workshop. We don't throw all the essential skills at the employer. We talk with them about what they are. So, and we follow the Power Act because it fits really nicely what the schools need. Um, and they're like, oh, yeah, we really work on communication in our workplace, or in our banking industry, it's about teamwork because there's so many departments. And then I ask them to give real life examples about that essential skill. So we really narrow it down, because especially our manufacturers are like, well, they're all super important. And then with the students, it's kind of overwhelming. So we don't expect the employer to cover them all at once. We're very intentional about the ones they feel they can speak best to and give clear-cut examples in the workplace, what's happening real time, in the bank, in the manufacturing center, wherever, whatever employer's visiting with us.
Thank you, Chris. And that's where, again, I think it would refer back. I'm just going to pull this up again really quick, is like that language, right? So to Chris's point, when you're thinking about, okay, this week we've been working on adaptability and flexibility. Here's the 5 things that we really find as important as a student to develop in adaptability and flexibility. If there's opportunities for them to embrace a new idea, to effectively change plans, like reflect on and modify, right? Like these are things that employers could identify within their space and engage students in. So this performance indicator language, the goal is that this would be really helpful to get really explicit about those actions and behaviors that a person could engage in to demonstrate and engage in that essential skill. Any other kind of questions I have? I'll kind of do this slide here first a bit, but curious to you about other resources folks might be using for developing essential skills, or how you are currently measuring student growth and mastery of those competencies, or anything else that would be helpful. I know we shared a lot of curriculum and resources here today, but essential skills and work-based learning are very intrinsically tied together. It's something that we, as schools, as community-based organizations, as employer partners, essential skills are something we can be helping all young people develop. And regardless of what path they pursue, those essential skills will be helpful in their personal and also professional and post-secondary, their educational lives.
No questions. Just want to say thank you. This is awesome. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Yeah, I know this was a bit of it's like all fabulous stuff and it's all just a lot of stuff. I know how that is, but please, if you all are continuing to dig into these resources, like everybody who shared today are wonderful people who are always willing to continue to thought partner and collaborate and answer questions and share what they can. So just please, again, keep reaching out with all of that. We definitely want to make sure a big thing of iWin and all of this is wanting to share the stuff that's already happening. So people aren't out there recreating stuff that's already there to really build from. I like what I think it was Cindy said, they're Arizona-fied, right? Like you make them, fied for whatever school you're at or region you're in. And a lot of these things can be adapted, and just want to encourage that because it's a lot to start from a blank piece of paper, right? So where we can really build on the great work already happening. I'll share here too, we're going to share out this presentation and recording shortly, but there's a lot of really great other kind of middle school, elementary career exploration models that are happening. And so in our middle school, they do these career study elective courses. Students take, I think they work where they take like 3 different electives a year. And so from 6th through 8th grade, they end up taking 9 different electives in different career areas to start to explore before they move on to high school. So they've shared a lot of their resources here. Skokie Elementary hosts community career nights. The Kewaunee School District, they also shared their career exploration and development plan. And there's a lot of others up here too. It feels like it was just last year that we were working with this grant, but it's been some years now. But in school year 21-22, the Illinois State Board of Education had a grant opportunity, and schools were piloting both career exploration and career development experiences. So I've linked into the resources here, and you can see all the different things. Sorry, I'm scrolling a bit. All the different career exploration resources that they did, as well as those career development experiences. So just wanted to pull that up again. There were a lot of learnings and great models from that pilot opportunity. and great things happening at the middle school as well. Coming up here next, we have a few more events. There'll be some in-person tours at Career Spark October 2nd that we'll have. There's an interest form for that. We're still finalizing that. So if you're interested, we do have limited space, but I think we definitely still have like a handful of spots left for that. But then 2 more virtual sessions coming up. We'll have a roundtable discussion on employer partnerships, kind of building on, I know we had a question in the chat here today, like employers and essential skills, right? One of those could be part of that conversation. But I know a big topic there is people are thinking about navigating paid versus unpaid, right? Some employers who are now wanting to pay, other employers maybe still aren't paying for internships. And so navigating what that looks like, both for students and partners. And then in November, Valley View School District is going to come on. They've been doing some really incredible things, building more internal awareness and capacity for sharing about work-based learning, making sure teachers are very aware of what's happening. I know the Arizona team too kind of talked about that with their career exploration. Like teachers are a really main touch point for young people. And so how we make sure that they're informed and are aware of opportunities and resources. But they also have some really innovative things for their career development experiences and doing some additional courses and kind of out of school time pieces to earn those for students. So a few opportunities coming up here. And yeah, the question about grants available to employers interested in providing exploration, like I'm sure there's a ton of stuff out there. Work-based learning is a very exciting moment. I don't know top of my head if anybody knows of that, but I can kind of think about that a bit and get back to you. But thank you all for everything. If there's any final questions, I'll hang on for a moment. But otherwise, again, thanks to our Arizona team. Thank you so much to Jeff and all of you for being here today. And please, again, reach out as you're digging into those resources. Happy to keep that partnering.